Hi everyone, it's Nicole Preventis with Logisoft bringing you another Adobe awareness video. And this one is actually going to be on building a package in your Adobe Admin Console. So this will be how you actually build the package for installation, whether that be that you touch every computer, you use a third-party deployment tool, or you reimage. This is how you will actually get the software onto the computers in question. So you navigate to the Adobe Admin Console and then go to the Packages tab at the top, and it will take you to this home page. Now, if you've never built a package, you won't see anything here, but you'll see that I have one built already, which brings me to point number one. Adobe packages in the console only live for 72 hours. So you'll see here that I built this one in April, and it shows expired. That is because in 72 hours, it went from the ability to download this package to an expired package. You can always see what was in it by clicking on that little magnifying glass there. You can see the applications I included and the settings I used. But we always recommend that you save a package when you create one, whether that be to a thumb drive, to your drive, your folders, your desktop. Save it somewhere external, because Adobe's apps update so often that if I wanted to rebuild this package right now, version 25.6 of Photoshop may not be available. So in order to keep your students or your staff on the same version for an entire academic year, you're going to want to save your packages somewhere. So that's tip number one. Now, when you go into create a package, you're always going to see two options. You're going to see self-service and managed. A self-service package is sold as being the easier way for IT, and it is. The problem is this only works if your students, faculty, and staff can do installations on hardware themselves. So this is a better option for maybe a college that doesn't put restrictions on computers, or even a nonprofit organization, but it is not ideal for education because in most instances, you need to have an admin password in order to install or run updates of any kind. So that's why the self-service package can really be a bigger pain than you think it's going to be. The other reason we recommend a managed package is because then IT maintains control of the version. If you do self-service, it allows students or staff to update their products whenever they want. Again, going back to that Photoshop example, Adobe does updates all the time. So if for some reason you have curriculum built on a very specific version of Photoshop and you don't do a managed package, next thing you know, you could have 3 students sitting next to each other, all seeing something different in Photoshop. So for the education space, we always recommend doing a managed package. Again, you maintain control and keep everyone on a level playing field. Step one of building a package is to select your platform. Now, one thing to keep in mind is if you have a mixed environment, you must build a Mac package on a Mac computer. A Windows package must be built on a Windows computer. So make sure you do that part correctly and choose the platform you're building. Next is to choose the applications. Now it defaults to the latest. And so you can see here that this is everything that's included in Creative Cloud, all apps. And if you need a different version, let's going back to that example of Photoshop with specific curriculum, you can click on other versions and get to long-term supported and older versions. Adobe does offer the current plus 2 older editions. So if you needed last year's version of Photoshop, you can do that by clicking on other versions. You click on an application, it will automatically include the Creative Cloud desktop app. That is because that is the kind of the engine. It's where students go to log in. It's automatically got to be part of every package. When you have your app selected, you click Next. I never recommend including plugins. They're really not optimized for the education space, and they usually just slow things down or crash the package. But step number 4, options, is something that's really important for education. There's 2 things you need to make sure are not checked. The first is this Enable Self-Service Install. This goes back to that conversation of having 3 students on 3 different versions. Uncheck that box so that, again, you maintain control and they all stay on the same version. When you uncheck that box, it also unchecks the ability to do updates, and it disables auto updates, meaning if there is an update run on Photoshop, you can push it out to the computers, but they can't do it on their own, and it doesn't automatically happen behind the scenes. The other thing you need to make sure is not checked, and by default it is not, but never enable browser-based login. What that does is it keeps the student logged in even if they log off the computer. So let's say you're using single sign-on, and when they log off the computer, it's still logged in for that student. Next student comes in, and they can see the prior student's work. This allows that to happen. So keep it unchecked, and that will ensure that when they log off the computer, it kicks them out of Adobe. Everything else you can leave as is. Click Next, you name your package, and create it. Then takes a few minutes for it to prepare and finish, and then once it is done, it will be available for you to download, and that's where you save it so you can find it later. Hope that helps. Thanks so much for your time.